Now we'll get down to business, as it were, for the AGM. Just before I start, I want to remind everybody in the room to please turn off your mobile phones or put them on mute. And for any of the people on Zoom, joining us on Zoom, please have your please mute your system as well. So for starters, I would like to begin by introducing our board members to you all. So I'll go from left to right. Vera Keating, Dr. Vera Keating, retired doctor who has just very recently joined our board, and we're as a nominated director. We're delighted to have her with us. Pat Ryan, and then Pat McGillion, then Miriam Kavanagh, Fintan Foy, and Frank Mitchell. So that's the, and Zainab Salman, my apologies. And James is sitting out here, James Durley. So that is our full complement of the board members here with us today. So the agenda for the afternoon is the minutes of the 2023 AGM and any matters arising, the chairperson's report, company secretary's report, treasurer's report, and then we have 3 resolutions that you have to vote on. The first is the approval of the 2023 accounts, the appointment of auditors, external auditors for 2024, and the resolution then proposing the change name of the changing the legal name of the organisation and any other business arising from that. So with the minutes of the meeting of 2023 was sent out to everybody in your circulars, and we will take them as having been read. So this now I am looking for a proposer. I'm looking for a proposer to adopt them. Thank you, Pat McCabe, and a seconder. Could you have your name, please? Okay, thank you. And are there any matters arising from those minutes? No, okay, thank you. So we'll have the next one from. So now we'll do the chair's report, comes next. Now, some highlights of the year. Yeah. When I see finances and a loss of 5,694, maybe a highlight is not the best phrase for that particular item, but the treasurer will fill you in fully about it when we come to do the financial report. Staff, we've had quite an interesting time as regards staffing this year. We have a new advocacy officer came on, Ciara Power, who was recruited, and 2 member engagement officers, Orna Maddock and Nuala McLaughlin, were appointed board members. Is Orna here? Show your hand there, Orna. And Nuala, are you here? Yeah. Very good. Okay, Nuala, and Siobhan is stepping in while Ciara is on maternity leave, and Siobhan and myself are trendsetters with the blouses that we have. Pardon, now who is it? Now the other staff are all lined up at the, pardon? Don't know her name.
Sorry, yeah, just to introduce Eleni Gomez, who has joined us in the staff for administrative support, and our American intern, Bess. Take a bow, Bess.
Thank you. And the new plan. So during the year, we've been working on the new strategic plan, which Fran will go into in detail later on. But at the moment, so that involved surveys, workshops and meetings held to develop the plan. So there was quite a lot of intense issues there, and meetings and discussions throughout the year. And I thank all those members who returned, who were surveyed and who returned their form. It is so important that each member, when we send out circular surveys of any kind, you know, they say every vote counts. For polio survivors, it's every voice counts. So I would encourage each and every one of you, it does matter whether you send back the survey completed or not. It really does, because it's a numbers game. And to get a proper feel of everything, we need as many people as possible to answer the surveys as best they can. And we thank those who do that, and we encourage all of you to do it. And when you're talking to your other polio friends in the social groups and everything, those who can't be here today, please encourage them to send in forms. Tell them it's really important we get feedback. That's one of our main things, that the board can know what the issues are and, you know, how everybody is feeling about things. So during the year then, the service provisions that we gave, 75 aids and appliances were provided to members during the year. 48 members were supported with therapies. 12 members benefited from a respite break. 267 members received a heating grant. 33 members availed of the telephone support service. 15 social support groups held 60 meetings during the year. And this was a big increase on last year, so we're delighted to see people getting together again now since COVID. And then there was 292 other members sought advice and information various times throughout the year. Ciara Parr, this new role of the Advocacy Officer, Ciara Parr, she's been working on the following issues on behalf of us all: making a submission to the National Disability Authority on the poor provision of therapies such as physio within the community. She prepared and issued a pre-budget statement calling for improved supports to meet the costs of home heating. She raised the issue of people with disabilities moving into old age pensions at 66 and losing the disability entitlements. And that came up this morning in our discussion. So we're on the case, as it were. And Ciara also issued guidelines to members on how to raise accessibility issues within their local council. And this is something that, you know, various groups can do in your own area. If you're wondering, contact the office. You will get guidelines as to how to approach your local councils. And, you know, when the councillors hear from local people, you know, and you tell them that your vote is dependent on them doing something about it, it really counts, it matters. Now, Nuala and Orna supported social support groups to get back on their feet and to organise after COVID, and the number of meetings, she increased the number of meetings doubled compared to last year, which is great. And I thank Orna and Nuala for all their work on this. So they worked to re-establish Dublin Swords, Limerick, Galway, Clare, Louth and Navan groups, and created new groups in Louth and Cavan Monaghan. So that's excellent work done, girls, for the year. Thank you very much on behalf of everybody. In addition, the MEOs held area meetings with members in Arklow, Athlone, Cavan, Drogheda, Galway, Portlaoise, Mallow, Navan and Nina, because some people don't prefer to just attend the area meetings, and that's another way of making contact with people who maybe aren't engaging in the social groups. Other developments, we recruited 35 new members last year, so this is good. 19 people signed the polio register. So since the polio register was established a few years ago, 455 polio survivors have signed the register, which I think is really good. And it's keeping the 9 members then volunteered for active roles within the organisation. And I really want to say a real big thank you to these 9 members who have come forward to do volunteer work within the organisation. You really are the heartbeat of the organisation. You do so much, and all the other members appreciate it. And we would like as many as possible to get involved. We're willing and able, polio survivors for polio survivors. That's our slogan, our motto from the time the organisation was founded. And we want to keep it that way for as long as it's possible. Now, Pat, from the point of view of the board, Pat was elected back onto the board last year. So unfortunately, there were no nominations for election to the board this year. And very unfortunately, Mary Byrne had to step down from the board earlier this year. So currently we have 2 vacancies for elected directors on the board. And we will be looking into possible people joining us for that. Recent highlights. Well, 2.5 years ago, Pat McGillian and myself got elected to the European Polio Union organisation, and it was a new board, more or less. They had resignations from their board, so there were only 2 board members that had been on the board previously when the new members joined up. So it took us a while, as we had to work on Zoom, because coming from various countries, France, Germany, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic, and Belgium. We were a disparate group. None of us knew anybody. And while English is the spoken language, there are differences in getting to understand people from other nationalities whose English is a second language. One of the things that we learned was that under Belgian law, they have been, as had happened in Ireland, and you will remember it from around 2017, when we revised our own constitution to bring it into line with Irish law, which was doing it in conjunction with European law. Belgium was a bit behind the curve, and they hadn't started it, and the association, so we had to get our statutes in order. And I would like at this point to give special credit to Catherine Naughton from Mayo, who is on the European Disability Forum, and she was able to help us get pro bono legal advice from an absolutely magnificent company at no cost whatsoever to the organisation. So that was just passed at our AGM, which was held in Budapest a fortnight ago. Now, the EPU is really concerned with passing on information to the various national organisations within Europe about services that are going. So I think Pat and I have been on a learning curve over the last 2 years. We've found out the excellent services that are available in Belgium, France, and this year some services, particular services to polio survivors, specifically in Hungary. They really, some of the opportunities there. And one other thing that I think is very interesting is that the University of Burgos in Spain have established a chair for the study of polio and post-polio syndrome. Now, that chair was only established 1 year ago. So the first lot of studies, they've just had 1 academic year behind them now. So this is a completely new thing, because it's never been done before at university level with a dedicated department for it. So they will be doing research and writing academic papers, and that should be very helpful to everybody throughout Europe. Which brings me to Donnybrook Hospital and the National Rehabilitation Hospital, coming from what we've learnt that's available in France and Belgium. And you remember last year, Professor Nullet from the University Hospital in Amsterdam came and gave his talk and told us about the facilities that they provide in their hospital, and they have dedicated beds for polio survivors. And there we've had, I would call it, very exploratory and preliminary talks with Donnybrook Hospital and with the National Rehabilitation Hospital, and we hope maybe to build on that going forward as I say, there were tentative exploratory meetings and exchanging views on needs, so we have to move that on further. And I think I've mentioned already ahead about the importance of surveys, so we don't need to leave that, we can leave that out. But, so that's really basically all the main things that we had to do in terms of the EPU so far. Now, new staff, I think we've spoken about Elaine Gomez, who's joined us, and Siobhan Banville is the temporary policy researcher for Kieran Power, who is on maternity leave at the moment. So we're very delighted to have Siobhan with us for this time and to be able to continue this important work. Now, unfortunately, we missed our administration officer, Jill Jackson, has left us, but we have her new replacement now. Elizabeth Derwin is here. Elizabeth, would you put up your hand, please? Let us all see. She's the new admin officer, so you'll be hearing her voice. We wish her very best indeed. So thank you, and I would just take this opportunity to express on behalf of you all our appreciation of our wonderful staff. They really are a fantastic team, and we really appreciate everything that you do for all of us. Thank you so much. And of course, I include Fran in that too. So has anybody got any questions that they'd like to ask? That's fine. Yes? Peter?
Hold on, Peter.
Sorry, just a quick question. I see you got 35 new members, but should we not acknowledge the amount of members we've lost?
Yes, true. We did this morning when we had our moment's silence for.
But do you know how many we lost? Do you know how many?
About 30.
35.
27. 37.
Okay, sorry, just wondering.
Anything else? Anyone else? All right, thank you. Well, then now we will move on to the company. I'll hand you over to Fintan Foy, who is our company secretary, for his report. You can see it down there. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I think my report is pretty straightforward, and it gives me a pleasure to go through it again at this year's AGM. This is when I know I need glasses. So for the members, I can confirm that the company and its officers have made all returns required to the regulatory authorities, and the company officers and directors have, as far as we are aware, complied with all necessary statutory provisions. The board has had 8 meetings in the last year, and there have been 6 meetings of the board subcommittee, and they are Service, Quality and Safety Committee, Governance and Compliance, Audit and Finance, and then the Board Nominations Committee. In accordance with the Constitution, Mr. Frank Mitchell and Mr. Pat Ryan are stepping down from the board at this year's AGM, but I'm pleased to say are offering themselves for re-election. As the number of candidates going forward is less than the number of vacancies, they are both deemed elected. And as the Chair has said, in recent months, Mary Byrne has stood down from the board. This means there are now 2 vacancies for elected directors on the board, and we would appeal to members to put themselves forward. So the elected directors for the year ahead are Frank Mitchell, Pat Ryan, Macrina Clancy, Zainab Salman, Pat McGillian, and Charlie Smith. The board nominated directors are Miriam Kavanagh, James Durley, and myself. Plus, and again, as the Chair has mentioned, the board recently appointed Dr. Vera Keating as a new board nominated director. This appointment was too late for ratification at this year's AGM, so you will be asked to ratify her formally next year. But in the interim, she will sit on the board. Again, as the Chair has pointed out, there will be a resolution presented to you later on at the AGM. And the board has proposed that the legal name be changed from Post-Polio Support Group CLG to Polio Survivors Ireland CLG. If approved by the members, this will require the name to be changed in a number of articles in the Constitution. This change will also need approval from the Charities Regulator and the Companies Office. And the board will be recommending approval of this name change and the relevant clauses in the affected in the Constitution. But this will be done later on in the meeting, as far as I'm aware. Yeah. Okay, that's the end of my brief report. And again, just to, from my point of view, to echo my thanks to Fran and his team for all the support they have provided to me over the last 12 months. And I'm very happy to take any questions from the floor, if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Now, first of all, we will take we need a proposer and seconder for the company secretary's report. So could I have a proposer, please, to accept his report? And Evelyn, yeah, thank you. And I missed out getting a proposer and seconder for the chairman's report. So could I have a proposer for my own report, please? Peter, and a second, Peter James, very good. So now I will ask Miriam to do the Treasurer's report.
Just check. Oh, yeah, it works. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Miriam Kavanagh, for anyone who doesn't know me. The Treasurer of Polio Survivors Ireland, and have been for some years now. I was trying to figure it out. I think it's 3 or 4, but so I won't take too long for this. I'm going to go through some of the highlights of the financial statements for 2023. And speak a little bit about the external auditor's appointment, which will also be coming up later on in the meeting. So, our financial results. Our total income for the year for 2023 was just under 600,000. This is a 22% increase from the previous year, which was just under 500,000. This increase came from a grant that we were successful in applying for, which came through Pobal. And so that amount was 83,000 for 2023. And this is a new income source which will continue for the length of time of that grant, and is we will see in some of the further slides where these funds are going. Total expenditure, again, was just under 600,000, so same in and same out. Again, this is an increase from the previous year of about 20%. Our cash balance at the end of the year was 134,000. And there's a total loss, as Macrina had said, of just under 6,000, and that compares to a loss in the previous year of 13,000. So over the years, looking at the trend of income and expenditure, you can see there that 2016, 2017 and so on, there's a dip in our income. And this dip has been rectified over the last number of years. So we're on an upward swing, which is lovely to see. And I think when we look at some of the slides that come after this, and we also, take into consideration the work that Macrina highlighted, I think from my point of view, and I think from the board's, this is representing really good value for money when you think of the support and the work that is done by this team. So looking at the income and where it's coming from, obviously the largest funder is still from the HSE. It increased slightly by 5% compared to the previous year. But I've highlighted there, and I think my highlighting didn't work very well, but on the second tab, Department of Rural and Community Development, that is our Pobal grant, and that has you can see there, it's a significant income that is coming from that to fund the member services. Some other grants and fundraising form part of our income as well. There was also an increase in our members' contributions, so thank you to those who are paying members' contributions. It is making an impact. And the general fundraising, you can see that it has stayed similar compared to last year, but I think it's important to note that previously, so 2021 to 2022, that fundraising figure increased by about 35%. And so that increase has been maintained for 2023. So I think that reflects the investment in the fundraising strategy for the organisation. So total expenditure, we can see they're broken down to the different sections. Administration staff costs is a significant payment. Member support staff costs, which was funded in the main by the public grant, and that's Nuala and Orna that are there. Provision of equipment is also a significant spend for the organisation. And looking at the different payment categories, or the expenditure categories, this is just looking at it in a slightly different way. So this is where it is split across, and we can see there the movements from one year to the next. So looking at the service and cost, or organisation costs, we can see in the second one down, so the orange is 2022 and the blue is 2023. So you can see on the second one down, the member support staff is significantly higher. So there's a much bigger spend there compared to 2022. And that is where a lot of that public grant is going to spend. And also on the provision of equipment, that increased compared to the previous year. Services to members is down, and the reason for that is in 2022 there was an exceptional additional payment for the fuel grant that was paid out. So more people got the fuel grant in 2022 than in other years. So that's why that is less in 2023. Organisation costs, some of the additional costs came from some exceptional, I suppose, circumstances. An EGM was held in 2023, which cost additional funds. And there was also an unexpected office move that happened during the year as well, which, required additional funding. On the services to members, you can see that there's some additional funding was spent. But broadly, it remains very similar. As I said, the heating grant there is the big difference. So there was less funding or less funds spent on the heating grant in 2023 compared to 2022. And then looking at the administrative costs, I won't go through these individually, but you will see the impact of, say, in IT there, the bottom line. That increased mainly through to the office move. So from moving offices and the equipment and getting set up in a new office was additional cost there. So the other thing just to mention as well, and this, as I said, this will be brought up later on for us to vote on. We've new external auditors, so a new auditor firm called Whelan Dowling Associates. Earlier this year, the auditors that were appointed, BMOL, contacted Fran to say that they were no longer going to do audits. They were not renewing their certification in order to carry out audits. And that put Fran and the board in a difficult position, because obviously we have a very tight timeline for auditing our financial statements and presenting them to you here today. Whelan Dowling was recommended to us. We met with them. They did undertake the audit of the 2023 financial statements, and Fran worked with them, and they met that timeline, that very tight timeline that we had. And so therefore we're recommending them now for appointment for the next 3 years. And some of the things we considered with this recommendation is that these are a medium-sized firm. So these are a little bit bigger than the firms we've used previously. And this, I suppose, lessens the risk of if one auditor no longer does audits, we can still remain with that organisation and we won't be put in the same situation as we were earlier this year. This firm is experienced in the non-profit sector, so they do audits and they work with non-profit organisations. They have competitive pricing, and looking ahead to some additional services we may require as an organisation, this is a firm that can provide that to us. And particularly I've put in SORP compliance, which is a way that financial statements will need to be prepared differently to the way that our current financial statements are being prepared. And if we need to do that, which we may as a result of the charities regulator, this organisation, this firm will be able to support us in that. So those are the reasons that we would be recommending to appoint this organisation for auditing for the next 3 years. And that's it from me. That's the end. So if anybody has questions or comments, we'll take them now.
Could we have a proposer to adopt the accounts, please? Yes, over here. Yeah, and could we have a seconder, please? Thank you very much indeed. Now, I would just remind you to keep going along as we go along in the afternoon, to keep filling in your evaluation form, so that by the time the session is over, you will have a complete form sent it in for that. Now, to ask the tellers, we move on now to the resolution and election of board members. So the tellers in place? Yep, 1, 2, was there another one? 3, we have them all, very good. So we come now to the first resolution, or just to say that the green card is an approval or a yes vote, the blue card is abstention, and the red card is a no-no. All right, thank you. So the first resolution now we have is to approve the accounts. Oh yes, just a few reminders. Those of you who are in attendance, if you voted by proxy, you shouldn't vote again today. You've only one vote. Yeah. On that, we've got, and so those who are on Zoom, if you too, if you have not voted by proxy, you're entitled to vote now, and we will take your votes, in turn. So those in favour for the resolution for the first thing of the accounts, could we have those in favour, please raise your green cards, and please keep them up until the counting has been completed. And if you're right-handed, you could hold it up in your left hand while you filled in the evaluation form with your right hand, or vice versa. I'm really keen to get those evaluation forms filled in.
And Emma, can you give us the online vote as well, please?
So now I'm looking for abstentions. Sorry, anybody abstaining? No abstention. And anybody that doesn't approve the vote, put up your blue card. Anybody vote the accounts? The red card. Red card if you're against the accounts. No red cards. That's nil. Okay. So the results of the first resolution is 100 in favour, 196 counts, 2 abstentions and none against. Thank you. So now we move on to the second resolution, which is to appoint Wheeling, Dowling and Associates as our auditors for 2024. And so could I have the green vote for those in favour of appointing them? Green in favour of appointing? Green. Okay. Now, could I have anybody abstaining from the appointment of the auditors? Please raise your blue card. Anybody abstaining? No abstentions. And anybody against? Please. And anybody against, please raise the red card. Nobody against. Okay, thank you. So now the results of the appointment of Dowling and Associates as auditors is as follows: 198 in favour, 2 abstentions and none against. So now we come to the third resolution. And the third resolution is to change the legal name of the association to Polio Survivors Ireland, CLG, and update the constitution accordingly. So all those in favour, would you please raise your green cards? Now, could I have those who are abstaining, would you please raise their blue card? Anybody abstaining, please raise a blue card. And against, anyone against the change, please raise a red card. So the results of to change the name, in favour 185, against, abstention, 3, and against 4. So all of the resolutions have been carried by the members. So I need now a proposer for the first resolution. That's the accounts, the proposer to adopt the first resolution. Proposer, please, for the accounts. Yes. Jim, and there's a lady over there at the end. Thank you. Now, the second resolution, that's to approve DWA as our auditors for 2024. Could I have a proposer, please? And Susan Dowling. Who else? Kat. Thank you. And a proposer now for the change of name, the resolution proposer, the gentleman here at the back, get on your board. Mick, thank you. And a seconder, please. Thank you very much. So all three resolutions have been passed, proposed, and now, as Fintan had told us in his report, Frank Mitchell and Pat Ryan are stepping down, but both directors are offering again for themselves a re-election, and as there were fewer candidates than vacancies on the board, there was no need for a board election, so Pat and Frank are deemed re-elected, and we're delighted to, with that, have you back on the board. Yes. Have you staying with us on the board? That's good. Any other business? So there, I